Sons and daughters of MILFs, how has your mom being super hot affected your life? Growing up, my mom modeled for Harley Davidson and no fear. My friends all made comments, and I would act like it bothered me. But it really didn't. Not like it matters. But I wouldn't have preferred an ugly mom. She had a great confidence about her that she instilled in my brothers and me. The drawback was, I was a child of divorce. And my mom had no shortage of random dudes wanting to get it on with her. And of course, they would pretend to be really into her kids for a while. Until they broke up. Then we'd never hear from them again, of course. It made me more annoyed than sad though. My mom had a relationship with my 5th grade teacher. Flirted with all my friends as well as my sister's boyfriends. Then she divorced my dad, who's a pastor. I would say she was a poor role model. Now she lives with a dentist in a $5 million house with an ocean view in Florida. Moms love a man that can drill and fill. Everything turns into I'd bang ya mom after any argument. I can't seem to have a normal discussion with no one. It led to a lot of lewd jokes by my friends growing up, which I had to hit them for. Also sometimes my dad would talk about sex with my mom in front of other people, which was awkward. Not like graphic description. But it's weird to listen to your dad mention his active sex life to your high school football position coach. But yeah. From 13-18 there were a lot of kids for your mom is pretty hot dude. I wouldn't mind getting some alone time with her. To which I'd have to respond by saying FCK you dude that's my mom. I mean the alternative would be saying yeah my mom is pretty hot. Which is just f-king weird and unacceptable. The appropriate response is, I guess it's only fair after what I did with your mom last night. Hey Kajafa. Would you mind giving me your mom's number? It's for ERH. Control F kids username. I'm disappointed. I knew a girl in high school who had a mom that was pretty young and very attractive. It was something that bothered her a lot and caused her self-esteem issues because whenever they would go anywhere, her mom would get all the attention and was a type of person who loved it. The guys at school would also talk a lot about how hot her mom was and always made jokes about it, which she usually brushed off. But you could tell they bothered her. My mom is really hot and it sucks because I feel like, as her daughter, I kind of have to live up to how she looks. Friends are always telling me that my mom is awesome and it makes me feel awkward lol. She's really stylish, though. So I get to borrow her clothes a lot. I'm a guy. But my mom was a personal fitness instructor for 15 years and now does nutritionist stuff. So she looks really good and she also looks really young. Like 30. One of my friends started hitting on her. He's 18. Before I punched him in the stomach and yelled at him. But my mom is ridiculously strong and I'm a recovering anorexic. So anytime I can open something or pick something up I have to call my mom to do it. All my friends give me shit about it. I know what you're going through you Challoine. Typically I would get jokes about banging my mom. Always laughed it off and moved on. Then into high school I realized that it was a backhanded compliment of sorts. Then started turning the tables on the jokers. They'd say my mom is hot blah blah blah. Then I'd say yep that's why I look normal and you and your mom look like the offspring of Chris Farley. They stopped after that. Well both my mom and dad are hot. Growing up I was dreaded with the your mom is a total MILF statement so I stopped having friends over. Then when I was older and needed to do a group project, I invited my group over. There were some girls in my group and when they left they kept telling me that my dad was really cute and good looking. Nobody is ever allowed to come over anymore. Ever. Remember people. Your stories aren't considered true until you post a picture of said MILF. I had more friends but at the same time they paid less attention to me. It was okay though because every time she walked by I would be the only one paying attention to Smash Brothers. My mum was 21 when she had me, making her one of the younger mums among my peers during school. All my guy friends were in love with her. telling me they'd wank over her every night etc classic British boy stuff. Which was gross. I had a situation where I had a crush on a guy and I invited him to my house. He only accepted the invitation due to my mum being there and only dated me for 3 weeks just so he can look at my mum. Awkward. A lot of is that your sister? And wow, your mom is beautiful every time a friend meets her. Every time. It's unfortunate I got none of her good looks. I always worry that a date will see her and no longer be interested. But it hasn't happened. So. Doesn't affect my life much. Just your usual teenage self-consciousness. Doubled. My mom used to substitute teach in my junior high when I was in 7th grade. Kids had a field day with it. And I absolutely hated it. Now. I don't really care. I have good genes, I guess. Check out our pimp your mom for karma. She's a hot sociopath, so she went out of her way to be mean to her female relatives. Due to her confidence in her looks, she thought I was ugly. Would call my sister fat. Mocked her sister for teenage acne. And lectured her niece on not getting knocked up. BC the niece was hot enough to have guys coming around to try to do that. While her style wasn't to build up other women. I never heard her compliment other women. I had terrible self-esteem as a kid and teen. I felt ugly and unwanted. The only upshot of my mom's beauty craziness was guys were put off by her shitty attitude and laziness. She lost her looks and never had her LTR after my dad divorced her. PL. IR equals, in other words. LTR equals long-term relationship. Just posting for oblivious PPL like me. You're searching for FAP stories. Welcome to Uscredit. You must be new. I'm a dude. I've been told quite a few times that my dad is pretty hot. I've also been told, by different people, that I look just like him. So it makes me feel pretty good about my future. Beve 21. You look like an attractive 55-year-old. Whoa. Thanks. I get weird middle-aged teachers and mutual friends come up and say your mom is quite pretty. And then just trail off and still look at her. It's weird. But weirder still when they later say I look a lot like her. Well. I was always larger than my friends. So any comment about my mother usually resulted in a good punch to the arms, chest, kidneys. Hey man. Your mom is stacked. You ever seen her naked? No. And you should shut the hell up. For real dude. Total MILF. FCKU. Joel. Punches sternum. OWW. FCK man. I'm just saying. Classic Joel. On the negative side. Everybody objectifies her. On the positive side. She makes an excellent decorative set piece. I'm not sure. Wait, this isn't our circular jerk? How did this post escape into the real world? People of Reddit. SX. Strangely. Not as much as you'd maybe think. My mum has said she's had a few guys compliment her, but I've never been around to witness it. And when I went to school there were 1 or 2 occasions when some kids commented on how they thought she was hot. But that was it. Really? Maybe your mom just isn't that hot after all, man. Grammar nerd. Guess I will come back later when this is interesting. Pretty normal. I think. This. Of course. Until I broke both arms. My wife is excited to see me, also a female, get older and hopefully look more like my mother. Growing up, all my male friends fancied my mother. It never really bothered me and she finds it funny and flattering at the same time. I noticed my mom being super hot. And thus why people were always acting odd around her. When I entered puberty. So. Like a horny teenager with no other women in his life. I started to fap to pics of her in bikini. And later I started to spy on her. When I was 17. I was spying on her in the shower and she saw me. She angrily shut the door and said we'll talk about this later. Holy FCK, I was dreading that talk. So yeah. Later she came into my bedroom to discuss what happened. I sat on my bed with my head in shame. So it took me a while to notice she was only wearing a towel. She came sit next to me. And in a tone of voice that I never heard from her before. But that I definitely liked. She said ask Reddit hates when their fap stories don't have a happy ending. No MILF pictures. I think everyone posting should accompany their post with a picture of their mom to prove that they are indeed a MILF. For science and whatnot.